the Doctor. I'm a Time Lord. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Kasterborous.
I hope the ears are a bit less conspicuous this time.
You might be a Doctor, but I am.
I'm a Doctor, but probably not the one you expect.
Absolutely fantastic.
All of time and space, everything that ever happened.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Big On the Inside,
start?
the new Who Doctor Who Watched On podcast. It's 2021, Harry. Are you excited? No?
I'm taking it one day at a time.
Yeah, so welcome back, everybody. It's 2021. A slight change to how we're going to do these. If you listen to Series 1, you will know that we would normally just go straight into we just go straight into whatever the watch-along was. But this series, we're changing it up a bit. We're still doing the watch-along. That'll come in at around half hour. But for the first half an hour, we're just going to go over any news that's happened during the week, usually Doctor Who news, obviously. And what better way to kick off than with the New Year's Day special Revolution of the Daleks? Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, written by Chris Chibnall.
Yeah,
This is our first Chibnall era episode that we're kind of talking about reviewing in any depth, isn't it?
Yeah. I sort of started making notes. I watched it again this morning and I started making a few notes, but I had to be really careful not to write every single opinion I had down, just because by the time we then get to it in a few seasons' time, well, in 10 seasons' time, thereabouts, we'd have nothing to talk about. So we've got some other bits of news coming up, but most people will be wanting to hear our opinions on Revolution of the Daleks. So should we get straight into that?
Absolutely, yeah.
I just also want to apologise if you can hear some echoing from me. I do apologise. I will try and edit it out best I can. But I've come back to uni, especially to record this episode, and I haven't brought anything with me. So I'm currently sat in an empty room with a duvet and a mattress behind me. So apologies if it's not that good. Anyway, so Revolution of Daleks, a long time ago, far, far away. A nice Star Wars reference, considering that this year we've had almost no new Star Wars apart from The Mandalorian.
Yeah, which I have not watched.
I started to rewatch it, and because I told you, I said I'm going to rewatch it, and about 2 hours later, you text me, you said, "How far into it are you?" And I went, "Well, I've just woken up, and it's episode 3."
Yeah. We're getting annoy enough people with our Doctor Who opinions. Let's not annoy Star Wars fans as well.
So it picks up where Resolution of the Daleks left off. Okay, let's just go straight into it. What did you think, Harry?
I thought it was a very fun episode. It was actually a bit better than I was expecting it to be. It wasn't perfect by any means. There were a couple things about it which I thought could have been better, but overall, can't really fault it. It's a strong, solid, very fun episode of Doctor Who, which I was happy to watch on New Year's Day.
Yeah, I found it to be fun. Yeah, I thought I enjoyed it. I think it's one of the best Chibnall era episodes of Doctor Who there's been. That said,
I've heard a lot of people say that.
Yeah, it was. That said, it wasn't the best episode of Doctor Who, but it also wasn't the worst. I think I posted a review on my blog, and I basically just said it's an episode of Doctor Who, and an episode of Doctor Who tends to be better than most good episodes of other television programs.
Yeah. No, I kind of It's like pretty much the kind of thing I'd hope for tuning into an episode of Doctor Who. I think we're going through. About to go into Series 2, and a lot of those episodes are kind of a similar thing where it's there aren't any loads of standouts as far as I'm concerned, but it's all solid, fun TV.
Yeah, so we may as well.
I felt that way about Revolution.
We should talk about Captain Jack and his involvement in the episode. It was great to see so much of him so early on.
Like part of me was worried that from the kind of trailers and adverts for this episode, it kind of insinuated that Jack and the fam would be separated from the Doctor for most of the episode. But no, quite early on, Jack and the Doctor meet in space prison and break out together. And then he's just part of the group for the rest of the episode, which I think, is good. It gets straight to the point. It gives people exactly what they're hoping to see in this story.
I like the way they broke the Doctor out of prison as well. They didn't hang around with it. It's like nobody wants to really see the Doctor separated. They want to see everybody together. So let's just get her out of here as quickly as we can. That said,
Like you said, there were some fun throwbacks in Space Prison.
There was, yeah, we should talk about that. I just wanted to say that Jack spent 19 years in that prison trying to get the Doctor out. 19 years.
Is that how long they were in there together?
Yeah, he says, I've been trying to get you out for 19 years.
Crikey.
That's ridiculous. Anyway, yeah, there's some great throwbacks. We see the Silence, the Sycorax, a Weeping Angel, an Ood, a Cyberman, and the little pigment thing, whatever it's called.
Oh, is it not? Is it called the Bating, the little guy, or is that a different alien?
No, I think you've probably named it correct compared to me.
Like Stitch, that guy.
Yeah, him. Yes. I liked it because I think when we talked about the trailer, as I said, that would be a really good chance to just throw in a few good fun villains. And I think probably did mention a Sycorax as well. I feel like we've had that conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was good fun. Breaking the Doctor out of jail, that was great. Was there anything that didn't land so well for you?
Isn't in that initial bit?
No, just throughout the episode.
There's some bits later, but it's less of a kind of not landing and more just kind of it's kind of a weird structural thing that I kind of noticed about this episode compared to kind of older episodes that we're going through currently.
What was that?
Just that it is a peculiar one. It's kind of, this is the only, quote unquote gripe I have with this episode, which is that when you look at, say, something like the RTD era, which we're going through, normally, Russell had a great way of kind of balancing both kind of the characters progressing the plot and action going on, whilst also at the same time having great back and forth between the characters, the Doctor and their companion.
Yeah.
Whereas with this episode, it felt like you'd have like a scene where action is happening and plot's progressing, and a scene where characters talk about themselves and have heart-to-hearts. You didn't really see that happening at the same time, which I thought was strange. They were kind of separated off in that way. Both of them, individually were fine. Just weird that they were so set apart.
Yeah, I saw someone online said most of the reviews I've seen have been really positive and people really liked this episode. But maybe one criticism that I've seen reoccurring is the fact that it did just seem to be, now this happens, now we're doing this, now we're doing this. There didn't really seem to be an organic flow. Yeah,
and I don't know if that's a pacing issue or an editing issue or what, but it does feel, especially in the beginning, it felt like it took a little while to get going.
Yeah, because I rewatched it this morning and I was like, oh, I've got to sit through all this lorry driver thing of this random lorry driver getting taken away. What they could have really done is just opened it with the lorry driver in his lorry, and then he gets poisoned, and then it's revealed to us that in the back of that van, the back of the lorry, was the Dalek from Resolution. So we didn't really need the whole build-up.
I don't mind the show actually being slower and taking its time, but it's just that with this episode, it felt like that time was spent establishing things rather than exploring them. Yeah. Like, I felt like they could have kind of got to the point sooner and then spent time to kind of explore it.
Yeah.
That's just me, though. I still like the episode, and I still think it worked. That's just kind of a thing I picked up on whilst watching.
And the inclusion of Jack Robinson?
Is that the American guy?
Yeah. The American Mike Ashley, as he's referred to in the show.
Yeah. I liked him. I really liked him in this episode. I thought he was actually a lot better in this episode than he was in his debut episode, Arachnids in the UK. I really liked him here, and I liked how he was used. I thought he was kind of a fun, kind of antagonist inclusion to the TARDIS team for this adventure.
Yeah.
I liked him.
He's more Trump in this episode than he was when we last saw him, I feel.
He was also a bit kind of Elon Musky in a sense.
He was, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. I got that vibe from him a lot.
There's a scene where he enters the TARDIS and he's trying to work out, and even the way he stood with his hands very close to him like this, sort of moving around. It was almost like he was doing an impression of Alec Baldwin doing his Trump impression on SNL.
I get the vibe. I get the vibe that you're talking about. Do you think, because the way the episode ends, kind of, he's in that interview and that he's asked about re-entering the presidential race. Do you think in series 13 we could potentially see him as the president?
I'd quite like that. I know when it was sort of rumored he might be in this, a lot of people were like, oh, what they're bringing him back for is a rubbish character and a rubbish episode. I personally really like Arachnids in the UK. It was one of my favourites of the last series. I think he's a really good character, and it's good to bring in new villains that can sort of be reoccurring for that incarnation of the Doctor. I know I've mentioned that I would like to see Tim Shaw appear as maybe just one episode of series, or even just the odd cameo. You know, the guy with all the teeth in his face. Just throughout Jodie's run, it's almost like Tennant had the ood. But I would like it that off screen there is this character development of Jack. It's Jack, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, we have 2 Jacks in this episode.
See the evolution of him off screen, and then now and again we just join him in this new environment. Theresa May's in this episode.
Yeah, and she gets killed by Daleks.
She does.
Do you think that was meant to be a Theresa May insert?
Oh, definitely. I mean, she doesn't particularly look exactly like Theresa May, but like the clothes she wears and the very bold colours, it was almost like
and all the talking about stability and security.
Yeah, and like in the UK press, whenever Theresa May would go anywhere, it was always, this is what she's wearing, and we're going to linger on her shoes. And this, I think she was called Jo, the Prime Minister in this episode, was that everything she wore was very bold, and you almost noticed her clothes before you noticed her.
Yeah.
There's never a mention of Harriet Jones whenever there's a new Prime Minister. Nobody ever mentions Harriet Jones at all.
I'm sure there's an episode with Capaldi, I'm sure, where he mentions Harriet Jones.
I think you might be right.
I think that's the only time that she's been mentioned since the end of the Russell run.
Yeah.
And it's strange because you'd think, especially with Jack here, that it would be kind of an ample time to mention Harriet Jones. Jack maybe make a throwaway comment about being, we used to have better prime ministers.
Yeah. We do get a throwback to Russell T Davies here with Rose. She gets a nice little mention. I put a thing out on Twitter beforehand saying what are people's predictions, and I think I put that Jack would reference 10 and Rose, or at least 10 and or Rose. And I like the fact that the companion's reaction is who, what, like. The Doctor now is sort of past the Rose. She doesn't really mention her as much as Tennant did and Smith did.
Yeah. That's interesting. Do you think that's kind of a thing that the Doctor was deliberately just not acknowledging Rose just because of how much that kind of still hurts for her in a way?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think maybe Rose to the Doctor now is like what Tegan was to the Doctor, or Perry, or Ace. It was just a companion now. It was so long ago. I know for us it's only been like 9 years, but for the Doctor, we know that she's been in that prison cell for a minimum of 19 years because that's how long Jack had been in there for. So yeah, I think it's now sort of past that. It doesn't really have an effect on her as much. Obviously, it's probably still...
because I did actually get one particular scene, the scene with between Jack and Yaz, where they're talking about the Doctor and the relationship with her and how she kind of can sometimes leave you and should make the most of the time you have with her. I got a real kind of school reunion vibes from that.
Yeah, you're right there, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of the whole thing of this past companion re-entering the life and kind of saying, being with the Doctor, it's hard. It's not all it's cracked up to be. Yeah. And it's interesting that that's something that they're starting to kind of bring up.
I think, so there's two. Jack and Yaz had a really good chemistry in this episode. They worked really well. I really like the scene where they get attacked by the face-hugging Daleks and they're trying to pull them off each other and Jack has to shoot one off Yaz's back. I thought that was great. The other thing that we should probably talk about is it was rumoured beforehand, and it's very slightly alluded to throughout the episode, is that does Yaz have a romantic interest in the Doctor, or is it just a very, very strong friendship?
It's because she definitely has a real kind of connection obsession to her with
Yeah.
her. You kind of get the vibe that is the biggest part of her life now. Whereas you kind of see, even before they announced they're leaving, you kind of get the vibe from Ryan and Graham, Ryan especially, that kind of they have a life and they've returned to a life outside of the Doctor.
Yeah, but Yaz
whereas
hasn't.
Yaz
She's just
really-
carried on.
Yeah, but she even says at the end, "I'm not ready to, I don't think it's that I'm not ready to let go just yet, but I'm not ready to leave yet."
Yeah.
Like, she still wants this really badly. The question of whether or not it's romantic in any sense is still quite ambiguous. I get the vibe that kind of the 13th Doctor is asexual.
Yeah.
She hasn't really expressed any kind of romantic feelings. Even when kind of Jack was flirting with her, she didn't really reciprocate it.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just getting my laptop charged. Sorry, I'm still here.
okay.
No, yeah, you're right. It's sort of, I think it's cool. I don't have a problem with it. I know there's going to be some people on the internet who very much will have a problem with this.
I don't have a problem with it at all. I think it's cool if that is the direction they're going in. It's just a question of if Yaz does have romantic feelings for the Doctor, are those going to be reciprocated?
Yes.
And is that going to... Because that could bring up an interesting dynamic. Because usually, I mean, it would be a bit of a Martha Doctor thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of one of them having this real strong feelings and the other one just not even registering them.
That would maybe be quite interesting then to swap it around and have that. Because I feel like Martha and Yaz are very similar companions. I saw an interview with Mandip where she said one of her favourite companions was Martha.
That's interesting. That is interesting. That is interesting. I've never really thought of that parallel before.
No, but it's there though, isn't it?
Now that you bring it up, and especially seeing how Yaz was in this episode, that starts to make sense.
Yeah.
Just interesting, how far are they going to push that?
The TARDIS landed in Graham's house. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was great.
It was great because you get a reaction of all three characters, and even the actual effect of it landing was great. Because for the characters, it's been 10 months, and for us, it's been round about 10 months as well since we actually got new Doctor Who. So I feel like it for fans anyway, you really felt what they were feeling seeing the TARDIS take off and land again.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially since we had no idea how soon we'd be seeing that going into this episode. We didn't know if we'd have to wait like for half of the adventure before seeing that.
Because when we spoke to Dominic Martin, we sort of all agreed that we thought round about halfway through was when the Doctor was going to be introduced to Jack. And that scene where Jack says, "Oh, I've missed that sound," would be around 45 minutes into this hour and 15-minute episode.
Did he say that in this episode?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does say it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was something just for the trailer.
Yeah. I really like the scene where Jack steps out of the TARDIS and he says to Graham, "Hello, you silver fox." He's still, even though Graham isn't the Doctor, he still thinks there's a chance with Graham. And Graham's reaction of, "Yep, you all right?"
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I mean, Graham probably of this fam, Graham's probably my favorite of them, just because of the way that he kind of has these kind of grounded reactions to things. That everything is still a bit, larger than life, and he's still not quite used to that.
Yeah, I've got a load of notes here about the PM. Should have been the PM from the beginning. Is she Tory? Whatever. I've got things here about the Doctor quoting J.K. Rowling again for the second time.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was great. Yaz Fancy, the Doctor, we've covered that. The sound mixing at some points, I found it hard to hear some of the dialogue that was being said. One moment that really stood out to me with that was when we're seeing the Dalek drone being tested in front of the Prime Minister, and there's Leo, the Prime Minister, and Jack on the bridge, and they're watching what's going on. And I was sort of really struggling to hear what Leo was saying because the sound was just so roaring over the top of that. That said, though, it's very cinematic, this episode.
No, it looks great. I mean, that can be said for this era as a whole, but this episode especially towards the end when the stakes started rising and there were the two Dalek factions and they're all flying around. No, it was really great. Really it felt very almost Star Warsy in kind of the scale that they were going to.
There's a really good scene that I liked where the Doctor tricks the Daleks into coming onto the TARDIS. And it's just this shot of the TARDIS on one side, just surrounded by swirling Daleks. It just looks
That's
amazing.
such a good shot.
Yeah.
It looks great. Yeah. That's the kind of thing where you make that like a wallpaper or something.
It's my
It's
cover photo on Twitter now.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's a good shot.
It is. We should probably talk about it. The departure of Ryan and Graham, I think, was done really, really well. Especially...
I know that this wasn't what you were expecting. You were expecting Ryan to die trying to save Graham's life, and then Graham would leave after that. This is a very different departure to what you expected. How did you?
I know you sort of thought that maybe Graham would leave due to like his cancer was going to come back or something along those lines. But they both, Ryan's just had enough of it. He wants to go on and do his own thing, and Graham seems like he was happy to stay in the TARDIS, but because Ryan's leaving, he would rather watch Ryan grow up and develop. Because Ryan's only meant to be 19, which doesn't work.
Yeah. Do you think Tosin looks too old?
He looks about 27.
That's what casting's like, I guess. I don't know.
How old is Tosin? Tosin.
I don't know. He's in his 20s, right? I don't think is he that old?
He's 28.
Oh, okay. Well, pretty bang on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they handled it really well. I like it throughout the episode. You can sort of see Ryan just sort of becoming more and more frustrated with the Doctor's adventures. And even right up to the end where Graham's like, well, best go and see the Doc. And he just sort of stands up and walks off. And Ryan's like, oh, I'd rather not.
Yeah, part of me wishes that there'd maybe been a scene or two maybe showing the life he has outside of the TARDIS, maybe something with him and his mates, just to kind of show why he feels like he, just to drive it home. Even without that, I think that it really worked though, and you kind of could really feel his resistance, especially throughout this adventure, kind of that sense of, I'm kind of over it now. This isn't for me.
Yeah, because he mentions that his dad's back and that he's they're sort of building a relationship. He doesn't mention that he's got a job, which is weird. He's been hanging around for 10 months.
Hey, it's really hard to find a job nowadays.
But no, I thought it was all really well done, and those characters got a good send-off. I don't think it's the last we will see of them. It seems to be a tradition with New Who. It seems to be a tradition with New Who that in the very last episode of whatever that Doctor is, that their very first companions return. Rose returned for Tennant. Amy returned for Smith. Clara returned for Capaldi. So it would only make sense that Ryan, Yaz, and Graham all return for Jodie's last episode, whenever that is. Not sure yet.
How did you think about Jodie giving them both psychic paper so they can go off and have their own adventures?
It's fine, isn't it? It's, Big Finish, still love it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, oh, okay, they're going to get a Big Finish series.
As you were watching it?
Yeah, as I was watching it, when they were talking about going off places around Earth, they're like, oh, okay, Big Finish.
I'm surprised Big Finish haven't done something with Jake and Mickey on Parallel Earth. When they went off in the blue van.
Oh, yeah.
They've never done anything.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So Revolution of Daleks, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good fun. One of the best Whittaker era. And she's brilliant in it throughout. We didn't really sing her praises enough, but she's fantastic.
Jodie's really great. I was watching this and I kind of realized, because I know some people have still been umming and ahhing about it, but watching this episode, I was just like, yeah, she's the Doctor. She works as a Doctor. I mean, I already by this point liked Jodie as the Doctor. I was on board. And I thought she was great.
Yeah. So Doctor Who, it will be returning. It's going to be returning in 2021, but still on news, by the way. We haven't actually got to the watch along. It's a long episode. We're sorry. The BBC announced that it will be returning. They didn't say when. They just said later in 2021.
Kind of an MCU type thing.
Yeah.
The Doctor will return.
Yeah, I'm thinking October time, around about Halloween.
Yeah, I imagine. Similar to Series 11.
Yeah, because I'm not sure if we're even going to get a seasonal special for the next season. Is because they've restricted it down to 8 episodes, which makes me think well, maybe we won't get one, or if they are, they will space it so that the final episode of series 13
leads into it.
yeah, just so happens to fall around the
That
Christmas holidays.
That could very potentially happen.
I'm happy with that. I mean, ideally, I would like 13 episodes in a special, but given the situation, I think we should be happy that we're getting anything at all.
Absolutely, yeah.
Talking of getting new things, after the episode, they showed a little teaser for Series 13. No Doctor, no Yaz, just a man just cleverly covering up the branding on a Coca-Cola can whilst reading out
just an ordinary lad from Liverpool
holding a Coca-Cola can, reading out someone's horoscope for some reason, and it's revealed that John Bishop, the Liverpool comedian and actor, will be joining the Doctor and Yaz in Series 13 as the character of Dan.
Yes. Do we know anything about Dan?
I know nothing about Dan. I wrote a thing about it. I sent you it. Basically, with just some quotes from Chibnall and Bishop saying how saying how excited they were that he was coming on board and that he's loved Doctor Who, about the standard stuff that you would say. I know some people are a bit mixed on it. I think it's good. I think it's on the same level as when Catherine Tate joined.
I'm into Who Minds. Yeah, kind of it does bring that, and also I think kind of the main concern it brings up is this just going to be Graham 2.0? Is he just going to come in and fill the role that Graham was filling?
Yeah.
And I'm going to get a little cynical here. Part of me worries that this is almost a studio mandated thing, that the BBC didn't have confidence in a TARDIS team which did not involve an older white man.
Yeah.
Part of me wonders that, because it seems... Because I was all for a TARDIS team that was the Doctor and Yaz, 2 women like going off. That'd be the first TARDIS team we'd got that would be like that, and that'd be cool. But would it be BBC or someone higher up? Like I don't know. Is maybe people for some stupid reason wouldn't be for that. I don't know.
For some stupid reason, the fans would not identify themselves with an alien.
Yeah, I don't know.
My understanding is that John Bishop will be the new companion for Series 13 with Yaz and the Doctor, but he will not be appearing in the very first episode.
Okay, so we'll have an episode or 2 where it is just the Doctor and Yaz.
I think we're going to have 2 episodes where it's just the Doctor and Yaz, and in that second or third episode, they meet Bishop, because the slight spoilers, I guess. The episode that Bishop will be appearing in is a Sontaran episode.
How do we know that?
And the set photos that leaked, and also there's a video on it on this very YouTube channel.
Oh, and was John Bishop there?
Yeah, he was on set, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see. Okay, I'm a little more open to it now. I think for me, it mainly depends on kind of what kind of character Dan is, how he fits into the story, and what he contributes to the team.
Yeah. I feel like maybe he's just going to end up on the TARDIS by accident. From those like very, very small clips we got, it seems like he's just bewildered and confused and just getting trapped all in danger all the time.
As long as he's not just obviously trying to fill some kind of Graham-shaped void and he brings something new to the team, I think I'm all for it.
Yeah. Cool. So I've got some more news as well outside of the actual main show. David Tennant and John Bishop will be reuniting for the Doctor and Jack in some Big Finish Torchwood adventures.
You mean John Barrowman?
John Barrowman. For some Torchwood adventures, John Barrowman and David Tennant playing the 10th Doctor and Jack will be back in some Big Finish audio adventures. That was announced very coincidentally at 8 p.m. on the 1st of January.
Are those yet more new David Tennant Big Finish adventures?
Yep.
On top of the ones which we already knew about.
Yeah. Shall I try
David
and
Tennant
find out how much David Tennant is doing at Big Finish?
Yeah, how many David Tennant Big Finish stories are coming out?
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
Their tweet said something like, Jack's back and he's with the Doctor, but not the one you were expecting. And I was like,
But it was the one we were expecting.
It was the one I'm
because-
always expecting. I mean, Tennant is my favourite Doctor, but like, you know, I really like chocolate cake, but I don't want it every day.
Yeah.
And David Tennant is my chocolate cake.
That's a very strange quote out of context.
That's what I call him on the phone when we talk.
I think you should just post that online. It's just a preview for this episode. Just you saying David Tennant is my chocolate cake. Nothing else.
Okay, so this is just on the Big Finish website. I'm just trying to load it. It's running a bit slow because they released something today and it crashed the website as far as I'm aware. Okay, so this year we've had Doctor Who Out of Time 1, which was Tennant, Tom Baker. And then, this website is appalling. And then there's the 10th Doctor Dalek Universe series. Dalek Universe 1, Dalek Universe 2, Dalek Universe 3. Out of Time 2, which is coming next. These are all to come. Out of Time 2 with Peter Davison. I think there's a third Out of Time. Yeah, Out of Time 3 with Colin Baker. And the 10th Doctor Classic Companions, where the 10th Doctor meets some classic companions, including Louisa Jameson as Leela. So, yeah, there's a lot.
A lot of Tennant. It's seeming to get to a point where David Tennant has done more Big Finish than he did episodes as the Doctor.
Yeah, I feel like that's okay up to a point where the actor is clearly no longer able to play that character on telly, but while they still can, just
You'd
limit
rather see him, yeah.
Yeah, just limit it a little bit. But
Well, he'll be in the 60th.
he will be, won't he?
He
I
will
mean,
be.
there's no point guessing. Will he, won't he? Yeah, he will.
No. He will. He will.
David Tennant will be. Matt Smith will be. Capaldi
Yeah.
maybe. Eccleston, no.
I feel like Tennant and Smith are the two definites. And Capaldi's most likely because he loves the show.
Yeah, but we know what Christopher Eccleston will be because he was asked live on telly if he would be interested in returning to the television series, and he says,
When Hell Freezes over.
Very blunt, straight to the point. He's clearly, and I love Eccleston. I mean, he's an amazing actor. I just so wish he'd fucking lighten up about Doctor Who for once. I know he's got his issues with it, man, but it was 15 years ago. We love him as that role. Just smile for once. Do you know what I mean?
He's. I feel like he's probably got other TV work coming along that he's more excited about for Doctor Who. And if he'd rather do that, then I can't fault him, you know?
But I mean, he's doing this Big Finish stuff. And obviously, I don't know Eccleston, obviously. But I get the impression.
Not like you know David Tennant.
I get the impression that he's doing this Big Finish work mainly because the money's right and it's COVID. If this had been approached to him 2 years in the future or 2 years in the past, he probably would have said no.
I'm interested to see how that Big Finish stuff comes out. I know this isn't new news, but I am quite interested to hear his performance in it because I feel like we'll be able to tell a lot about how he feels about this Big Finish from the performance he puts in. Like, if it's just him reading the lines, then we'll kind of get the sense that, okay, he's doing this because it was right time, right place.
Yeah.
But if he's really, putting the work in, then, maybe he's a bit more into it. Or maybe he'll put the work in anyway because he's a good actor and that's the job that's expected from him.
Yeah. One thing we forgot to touch on when we talk about Revolution of the Daleks was that Torchwood could possibly be getting a revival.
Yes, there was a mention of... Did Jack mention someone from Torchwood?
Yeah, he mentions Gwen. He's
episode?
gone back to meet Gwen, played by Eva Miles, who now has the character Gwen, now has a son. So, yeah, perhaps we might be seeing some more Torchwood. I know Big Finish have been doing lots of Torchwood, which has actually been really good. I've been listening to some of it.
What if this happened? Stick with me. This is very pie in the sky. What if Doctor Who, the main show, after Jodie's run, got a new showrunner, then Chibnall brought back Torchwood? What if that happened?
That'd be good. Yeah, I'd be up for that.
Yeah.
I feel like Chibnall wrote a lot of good Torchwood episodes. He was almost practically.
He clearly knows. He was the Torch showrunner, yeah. And he clearly knows how to write for Jack. He's probably written for the character of Captain Jack more than anyone else.
Yeah, I'd be up for that. I think we will see Jack again with Jodie.
You think so?
I
Definitely.
think
You
whatever
so?
Jodie's last couple of episodes will be, we will get
think
almost
Jack will-
like we got with Tennant, where we had Sarah Jane, Mickey, Martha, Donna, where everybody came back. I think
Yeah.
we'll get that with Jodie.
Yeah, I feel like especially because Jack kind of fit into this episode so naturally, and because that felt like such a natural fit, I feel like it's just kind of obvious that they're going to do it again. They didn't treat it like this special one-off thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm almost done on news, apart from the fact that Doctor Who left Netflix UK at the start of 2020, so now I'm having to watch everything on BBC iPlayer. Hooray!
You have to join me.
Yeah, so yeah, that's it. Do you have anything else we haven't talked about before we throw ourselves into the watch along?
Not really. I'm feeling positive about the future of Doctor Who. I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing stuff about Series 13, whenever that may be, and however that may be.
We've already got some videos on the channel about Series 13, about Sontarans and Weeping Angels. Whoa, spooky.
And they're doing numbers.
They're doing good numbers because I put those red circles in the thumbnail.
Are you going to put a red circle around John Bishop's face for this thumbnail?
John Bishop isn't in the thumbnail.
Oh, isn't he?
No.
Might have to just stick him in the corner there.
Like I did with David Tennant. I'm not sure if I started a rumor that David Tennant might be returning. I'm not sure if I started a rumor.
How did you start a rumor?
Well, in that video, I mentioned that Tennant, the 10th Doctor and the 13th Doctor met in comic when the 13th Doctor went to battle the Weeping Angels. And
Yes.
And they meet. Yeah. And I just casually mentioned it in the video. Maybe it'd be cool to see them come back. And then, like a couple of days after, when this video started getting views, like it started popping up. Would you like to see David Tennant return? Would you like to see? And then it was like he's rumored to be returning for the Christmas, the New Year's special. I was like, this whole thing. But I hadn't seen anyone mention it before I'd mentioned it. I was like, oh.
If David Tennant was to return in the New Year's special, they would have advertised it very, very loudly.
Yes.
Like that's not something they're gonna hide. Like it's not like Captain Jack's surprise cameo in Fugitive of Jadoon. If David Tennant's coming back, they're gonna want people to know about it.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to go head back to Twitter and spread some more rumors whilst everybody here listens to the watch along.
Yes, people, please stick on for that.
I feel like we need something to say to throw it into the watch along, like because there's a load of jingles now that people have got to listen to.
So new year, new me, new Earth. Speaking of new Earth, how's that?
That'll do. I'll cut this bit out as well, so this will be seamless.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut it down, pop up!
This is a command from the Daleks. All listeners are demanded to subscribe to our Patreon. Subscribe or you will be exterminated. Seek, locate, subscribe.
What's the point in having you all?
Oh, this is exciting, isn't it, Harry? We're about to do New Earth.
Yep, the start of Series 2, the kind of proper hit the ground running with David Tennant, Russell T Davies doing the first episode of the series. All very exciting, all quite... I mean, it's kind of, this episode feels really like kind of an almost kind of quintessential David Tennant Doctor Who episode.
Yeah.
Like...
Go on, it's fine. I didn't have anything to say.
Yeah, it's like I don't think it's my favorite episode by any means. I'd never like rank it in a top 10 or a top 5. But if I was to just like think of a typical episode of Doctor Who, like in what my mind is Doctor Who, this is probably one of the first examples that would jump to mind. Yeah. And I think part of the reason for that is probably because this is the first episode of Doctor Who I ever saw.
Oh, we've made it. This is the first one.
Yeah, this is the first one. I started watching with David Tennant, Series 2, New Earth.
Wow. See, this isn't my first one. We haven't got to mine yet.
Oh, so, you didn't start... Did you start in this series?
I'm not telling you. I'm not
Okay.
telling you when I started watching. What if I'd never
We have a-
watched it? I never watched it. Every week I just come on and host this, and I just blag my way through it by watching this and Confidential, and just make it sound like I know what I'm on about.
Imagine.
I watching this episode, I was comparing it a lot to Rose. So I was sort of thinking, okay, the first series opener, they're going to be bringing in new audiences who maybe didn't watch series 1 but were aware of it, and have sort of joined on the bandwagon. Yeah, exactly, right. And I sort of thought it didn't really do much to reintroduce the characters, I didn't feel, to new audiences. It sort of just instantly hit the ground running. This is what this show is.
Yeah, that's true. Because to me, I thought of it less as a Rose. If anything, I'd say the Tennant's equivalent to Rose was Christmas Invasion. And this to me is kind of almost End of the World Part 2. It's kind of a direct continuation of that story with those ideas and some of the characters. To me, that was what I compared it to.
Yeah, because we have the return of the Face of Bode, the return of Cassandra, the return of the little spider camera little things. Is anyone else returned from that episode? I believe that's it. Obviously, Rose is still there.
That's it, yeah. So I was also introduced to some kind of staples from this era. The cat people, they appear multiple times throughout Tennant's run. This is the first time we hear the 10th Doctor say, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry."
Oh, is it? When does he say that? Can I take a guess? Is it when he puts the people back in their... he puts like the diseased people back in their pod?
Yeah, he opens up the pod, he's like, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
And he closes it. Do you think he knew at the time of recording that was going to be like a catchphrase for him?
I don't think so. And I also don't think it was really a catchphrase when he was doing it. I almost feel like it's something that's been picked up afterwards.
Yeah.
Almost as a meme of itself. Like, he always says this, but it was never really maybe intended.
Yeah. I mean, the 10th Doctor has a lot of catchphrases.
He does. He does.
Yes.
Sorry, go on.
Well, no, obviously he has "I'm sorry." And of course, we don't get until the end of this series the whole Alonzi. And I don't know why, but I kind of associate shouting the name of the companion as quite a 10th Doctor thing,
Yeah, it's a bit, isn't it?
It's just quite fun of his accent, like Martha, Donna. It's
So the episode starts with obviously we get the reintroduce of Mickey and Jackie for that very brief scene, but then so this must be a pickup straight. This must be set days, if not the day after a Christmas Invasion, because he's still living with them. This is her first adventure with the 10th Doctor.
That being said, it looks like all the snow is kind of dried up.
Yeah,
like
maybe for
Rose.
Christmas.
I mean, maybe Rose was like, "Hey, I'll stay for a few months. I'll stay until March or April, and then I'll take off again."
Yeah, because you wouldn't. I can't imagine the 9th Doctor doing that, just hanging around, because he never hung around with Rose's family. So maybe it's something that the 10th Doctor would do.
Yeah, maybe the 10th Doctor went off for a bit, or maybe he literally just went into his TARDIS and fast forwarded because he had nothing better to do.
Yeah.
He just
yeah, there's some big finished audio stories there, isn't there? What the 10th Doctor did while Rose celebrated Christmas. What are your thoughts on the CGI? The episode opens with...
there's something I wanted to say about the opening.
Oh, yeah, go for it,
The one bit that always sticks out to me, and that I just... there's a lot to unpack, is that, first of all, Rose says goodbye to her mum, and she's like, "Bye, I love you, I'll be safe." And then she kisses Mickey goodbye. Mickey says, "I love you," and Rose says, "Bye."
Does she? I never noticed that.
Yeah, it's Rose is like, "Oh, she playing. She kisses Mickey on the lips. Mickey says he loves her, and she's just like, "Bye." What are you doing, Rose? What are you doing? Stop stringing him along like that.
I did not notice that. One line that was...
That's one thing that always stands out to me.
Whilst we're talking about that scene, there's a bit in that bit where they go inside the TARDIS and Rose says, "Where are we going?" And he says, "Further than we've ever gone before." But there's something about the words of further than we've ever gone before that don't seem right. They seem like they've been added in post because they're suddenly much louder than anything else that's being said.
Maybe we just like kind of edited the volume on 10 there.
Yeah. Anyway, so the CGI when they land on New Earth and they're looking at the hospital, there's all these flying cars going above them. What did you think of that compared to the CG we got in Rose and the End of the World?
I mean, I guess it was the same standard. Maybe, I think because it was like an outdoor space compared to like the indoor space that it was with the End of the World. I think it was a bit easier to tell with kind of a screen location.
Yeah.
I think like the quality of the CGI itself was pretty much the same.
Oh, really? I found it to be a little bit better. I found it to be not as jarring, but maybe that's because I've seen this series and this episode a fair amount of times that I've kind of can't see an issue with it because I've always known it like that.
I want to know what apple grass tastes like.
Imagine apples.
Yeah, but like, it must be really yummy, you know? Just some little grass bits, just lick on it, taste of apple.
I thought this was one of the first times we see the psychic paper, but Eccleston uses it once or twice, does he? I know he uses it in the Empty Child episode. He uses it around then.
He used it, I think, first in End of the World.
He does.
But I think this is the first time someone sends the Doctor a message on the paper, which is something I didn't realize could be done. And I guess I was the Face of Bo who did that, which I guess is his telepathy.
It's either the Face of Bo or Novice Haim, isn't it? It's one of them, but I always think it's the Face of Bo. When you're watching this or looking at the Face of Bo, are you thinking that's Captain Jack Harkness?
Well, I am now, yeah.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for anyone who's watching the series for the first time along with us. I don't know why you do that, because we do spoilers all the time. But the Face of Bo is Jack Harkness, probably. Yeah. It's never definitively confirmed, but it's basically confirmed.
Yeah. I always watch it now and I'm like, oh, it's Jack. There he is. I'd quite like to see the return of the Face of Bo with the Doctor now knowing that it's Jack.
The thing with that is that if that happened, the Face of Bo wouldn't be allowed to know that they're meeting the Doctor, because the Face of Bo kind of says, I'll meet you 3 times.
He does, doesn't he? That's true. I always really liked the Face of Bo. He's always a character that even though he only appears 3 times and his 3rd time he dies, I always really liked him. I really liked the look of the character and the idea of it. I just thought it was really appealing as a kid, just this giant head on wheels in a big water tank.
I mean, this is something I said when doing The End of the World, and I still kind of stick by this, that I firmly believe that the only reason they reused the Face of Bo was that they had this really cool prop, like animatronic thing, and they're like, we can't just use this for one episode. I really believe that's why they kept bringing him back.
Yeah, no, he's a really good looking prop. I remember having the toy as a kid and just being like, it's so cool. Like the mouth moved on it, and even the design of the toy was just amazing to look at. So yeah.
I was about to ask that, like, what can you... The Face of Bo doesn't really lend itself to a toy very well. There's not much you can do with it.
He's on wheels and he moves around and he has a little grip thing on the top where he can make his mouth open and close. But that's about it.
He's not very, like, kind of actiony, is it?
No, it wasn't. It was more of a collector thing, I think, than an action.
Did you have a lot of Doctor Who toys?
And I still do. I haven't sold any of them. I've sold, as I've grown up, I've sort of sold some Lego stuff and some Batman stuff, but I've kept on to all like my Doctor Who stuff. I still got like all the voice changer helmets and stuff like that.
I actually remember before I even watched Doctor Who, the show, I remember seeing like adverts on, it must have been like CITV or something, adverts for Doctor Who toys.
They were sick, those like adverts,
yeah, like the 10th Doctor, Rose, we got Cybermen, Daleks, Slovene, Sycorax.
And they all like fly in like that with like some kid's hand. And like the action figures would be like that, and they're sort of like...
Yeah,
they were great.
And so like, even, I think like, that probably helped me a great deal going into the show, because it meant all these like weird creatures weren't completely alien. Like I had a basic understanding of, okay, like Cassandra and the Cybermen and the Daleks are like bad guys. And so I knew that much going into series 2.
Yeah.
So I was quite accepting of this returning villain without questioning it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the first Doctor Who toy I might have had was. I know I would have had the Doctor, and it was the 10th Doctor in his pinned suit. He didn't have the jacket. I know you could get one with the jacket, and you could get one with the glasses, with his normal glasses. But I just had one in the normal suit. And did he come with a K9? No, he didn't. He didn't come with a K9. He just came on his own. But I remember having it and playing with it. Yeah,
I remember there being like a figure.
Yeah. And I remember playing with him and his hand came off. But luckily, it was the same hand that came off in the Christmas Invasion. And I was like, oh, that's good. And then I also remember getting my hands on, like, I think the next thing I got was 2 Daleks, but they were remote controlled. And you could fire
cool.
fire like lasers at each other and like shoot each other out. So that was good.
There was so many Doctor Who toys and merchandise and stuff when we were kids.
You don't get anything now.
I mean, I guess like you still get like toy sonic screwdrivers. You get those, but other than that, you don't. And like the collector's like action figures, which are varying. Like some of them look good, and some of them look like Rose.
Yeah.
That Rose action figure. It came with like Eccleston and.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the same action figure that came out for Series 1. I remember, like, the Series 2 Rose is the one you get in this one in the purple shirt. But the Series 1 one is that one where she's in that weird sort of, like...
In, like, the fighting stance,
yeah. In, like, the pink hoodie, yeah. No, yeah.
It was not a good mold.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I remember me and my brother...
Sorry, go on.
Me and my brother, we didn't have any, like, action figures, but we had 2 sets of top trumps, Doctor Who top trumps. And like one of them was quite standard. I think it was a Series 3 top trumps. So there's a bunch of monsters and stuff from Series 3. But the first one, I guess it was technically a Series 2 top trumps because it had Tennant's Doctor. But it must have been made before Series 2 came out because like literally all the monsters were from Series 1.
Really? I'm just looking now at the top trumps. I know I had one. I'm trying to remember what series it was. There. Is that the one I had? Oh, this is bringing out so many memories. The one I had, I think, was just a picture of David Tennant on the front of it. I think it was more of an era than a series. Do you remember the Top Trumps DS Doctor Who game you could get, where it was like the only Doctor Who video game, and you just played Top Trumps against yourself?
For real?
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't there? Whatever. I remember like Matt Smith had a few Doctor Who video games.
Yeah, but this is when 10 was the Doctor. There was like nothing. There was no video games or anything apart from this one DS Top Trumps.
Nothing. Yeah, I mean Matt Smith had quite a few. Remember, he had like a Wii game, maybe a couple of games. I think he had an Xbox 360 game where it was like a 2D puzzle side scroller where you played as him and River Song.
Going back to the episode, touched on it a little bit.
Yeah.
When we talked about the action figures there, is Rose sort of has a different sort of style this series, doesn't she? It's much more, I'm going to use the word sexy. It is more of a sexy look, isn't it? It's more of the shirt doesn't really fit. It's very clingy. It's very small. Whereas before in Series 1, she's wearing a lot of baggy London, early 2000s sort of chavvy clothes.
Yeah. I feel like kind of it's part of the whole thing that the Tennant era compared to Eccleston like series seems to lean a lot more into almost it's easing its way back to that more kind of campy sci-fi thing. And part of that is that the style of how the female characters are dressed is kind of a bit more, they can go a bit bolder with that, I guess.
Yeah, they definitely do, but I also feel it's juxtaposed by the actual character. Even though she dresses in this way, the character is actually really a strong character.
No, yeah, I mean, I think the sexuality of Rose's depiction, if that's how you want to describe it, in this episode is probably accentuated by the fact that for a lot of it, she's being controlled by Cassandra, who is compared to Rose, quite a, quite vain when it comes to appearance. And so she kind of flaunted Rose's stuff a whole lot more than Rose would by herself.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like a lot of 6 and 7-year-olds, like how old I was when I first watched this episode, that was probably their first celebrity crush. Was going, oh wow, Billy Piper, Rose Tyler's quite nice.
When I was 6, I think it just completely brushed over my head. I wasn't at the point where I was
What was I going to say? There's a scene where Rose is talking to Cassandra, and the way she's talking to him is very doctory. She's sort of saying, you blew up, you died, you're not human. She's sort of doing the whole not human thing again. But the way she does it is much more confident than what we saw in the Christmas Invasion, where she's trying to stand off against the Sycorax.
Well, I guess it's because this is Cassandra's a foe she's faced before, and she had a bit of a spat with her in the End of the World, so she's all raring to go. Yeah, I mean, she even picks up a poker.
Oh yeah, she does actually some lead piping or something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, Cassandra isn't alone. She's got her little weirder friend Chip. What did you think?
Did she say he's a clone or something, or that he's?
He's got a half-life, hasn't he? Which means he doesn't live as long. So I think he is a clone. But then she sort of said she came up with the pattern on his face herself. So I couldn't say. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I guess there's a possibility that she modeled him off. Obviously, at the end of the episode, Cassandra's embodying Chip, and she tells Cassandra of the past that she's beautiful, and that's the last time she was ever told she was beautiful. So maybe it's a thing that Cassandra had off that memory.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're probably right there. Because in the End of the World, she has 2 mannequins, doesn't she? But they don't speak.
Are they robots?
I'm not sure what they are. They're just 2 guys with big moisturizing guns, aren't they? Who just spray her now and again, but they never actually. They don't speak throughout the episode.
Yeah.
What else do we have here? Chip's a bit weird. One thing that I did notice is the cats are wearing face masks. The Doctor and Rose get sprayed by disinfectant, and the whole hospital goes into quarantine. It seems very. I was watching. I was like, I don't like these key words.
Yeah, I think the moment where it went the hospital under quarantine, I was like, how far into the future do these guys really travel?
Or how long is this going to last?
God, no! Don't say that. I can't bear to think of what we're going through currently lasting that long.
No, for those who nobody will know this, but I'm currently in isolation. I have to isolate for 10 days in my little student flat. I can't go outside for 10 days. This has been day 1. I come out in next Thursdays when I come out. So
so fortunately, by the time this releases, Tim will be free again. But as of now, he's
probably would have gone back in.
I mean, we can't rule out. I mean, it can happen. Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, as we're writing, he's had COVID, and yet he's isolating right now.
Idiot. I did have to do a test today, though. We'll go off topic a little bit. I had to do one of those COVID tests where they...
The swab test?
Yeah, well, my understanding was, when I've seen it, it's like a drive-through, and you drive up in your car, you roll the window down, and someone puts a swab in the back of your throat and sticks it up your nose and puts it in the bag, and you drive off. But this one was so close, I didn't have to drive. It was like a 2-minute walk from where I currently live in. So I just walked over, and they put you in almost like a tent, like a festival tent. And then you walk in, and there's just white sheets. In Age of Steel and Rise of the Cybermen, in Doomsday, where you have Freema Agyeman's character, and she's looking for all the plastic sheets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was like that, and all of a sudden she opens this curtain, and there's 2 chairs, and she's and a mirror, and she hands me this bag, and she says, "If you just want to sit there, read through the instructions, swab yourself, and I'll be back in 5 minutes." I was so I had to do it myself.
Wow. I mean, I guess it's to avoid contact.
Yeah, but it was one of those things though, where it's on the picture, it shows you how far up your nose to put the thing, but you can't see up your nose. So you can only just go to what feels right, and then as much as you dare, then go. And like swab it around for 10 seconds. You have to like move it, and I have to keep taking it out because I kept sneezing.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah.
So when are you going to find out the result for that?
2 days ideally. If I don't hear anything after 5, I'm supposed to get in touch. But I will probably get it.
If you're clear, just allowed to go free, or
no, I still have to stay. Because the person who got COVID has now been taken out the flat and put into another flat with other people who have tested positive for COVID. But I guess because symptoms can take so long to appear that we have to. Yeah. So I don't know. I know other people in the flat have had the test as well today. So I don't know. It's quite weird where it's like, well, if the test comes back and I don't have it, then what do I do? I don't really have to stay inside, but I should be. So I have to play it by ear. Anyway, Doctor Who. The character of Novice Haim. Let's talk about her. She might not seem that important, but she does return in series 3, and we had the passing of Novice Haim over lockdown as well. Did you catch a glimpse of that?
What was that?
Well, over lockdown, the Doctor Who channel did a few lockdown specials of things, a few watch-alongs.
Oh, okay.
They did one with Novice Haim. I can't remember which episode it was now. And Russell wrote this thing about the passing of Novice Haim and her death, which had the actress come back and narrate like this. They're almost like audio stories, and it's like her talking about her last days and how the Doctor came back and saw her and all this. It's quite sweet. So, yeah. I quite like the character because at the very end, she sort of knows she's been involved in something that was wrong, but it wasn't. She didn't approve of it almost, and she sort of gives the Doctor that look as she's being taken away by the NYPD. But it's not the NYPD, is it? It's like the
NYPD.
That's it. Yeah. And she sort of gives the Doctor that look as sort of to say, "Stop judging me." What do you think of Novice Haim?
Same. Just to clarify, she's like the main cat nurse lady.
Yeah, who looks after the Faith of Bow, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no, she's cool. I can't remember when she comes back, honestly. Where is it she comes back?
She comes back with when the Face of Bow dies in Gridlock.
Oh, of course, yeah. Oh, she's cool. I mean, it's I just have a lot of appreciation for like the makeup on her. Like, it's probably the most convincing when it comes to like seeing like cat people as cats. I mean, I think the fact they were able to achieve this in like 2006, and it's like infinitely miles more like convincing than what big Hollywood can do in like 2019.
See, actually, I didn't cross my mind. What species? Their species is called catkind. CATKIND.
So is it like, because they talk about having a lot of evolved humans, like of evolutions of the human race? Are they one of those, or are they different species?
Someone fucked a cat, didn't they? Someone had sex with a cat. That's what happened.
Because you don't
just
go there, but like,
you don't just get a cat-human hybrid without something weird going down.
I mean, unless it was like just some kind of like experiment, scientific test tube thing.
Maybe.
Benefit of the doubt. Gotta be better. I don't know. I'm trying to give Russell some kind of like, give him benefit of the doubt here. I like Russell.
Sorry, go on.
There are a couple of lines of dialogue, like ways that kind of dialogue exchanges are like written and like cut between, where Russell is really pushing the boundaries of what he can say.
Yeah,
there's a bit early on where like Cassandra's looking at Rose and she says like, "I'm something about that little," and then it cuts to Rose saying to the 10th Doctor, "Bit rich."
Yeah. And then there's another scene as well, isn't there, where Cassandra's saying to Rose that she's now talking at the skin she's using is from the back of her body. And Rose says, "Oh, so you're talking out of your..." And then Cassandra says, "Don't ask," or something like that.
Ask no more.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Yeah, so you can definitely tell he had fun with this.
No, this is an episode that really is very, very fun. Like, you can kind of tell that, like, if you just look at, like, Tennant and Billy, like, they are having just the most fun on set, you know?
Yeah, especially when you're watching Confidential, like there's that they do a lot of the scene where they're going up and down the elevator shaft on the wire, and they just seem to be having so much fun during that. What did you think to the face of Bo? He reveals that he's going to tell the Doctor his secret. Now, we won't go into what the actual secret is because that's quite far ahead. I don't know if I generally thought about it that much as a kid when I watched this episode, what that secret was going to be.
I mean, it's interesting that Russell was kind of planting that seed like over a whole series before answering it. It makes you wonder, is that just like kind of when Russell wrote that, did he have the plan, like the whole plan to the end of series 3, like panned out in his head? Or was it just kind of something where it's like, I'm going to return to this. I don't know what it's going to be or how, but I'm going to use this.
I mean, Russell's like the top. I know, like, I've often been thinking, like, oh, who would be super cool to get on the podcast? And obviously, Chris and David and Matt, Peter and Jodie and everyone. But more than that, I'd really, really love to, like, have Russell on, Phil Collinson, the producer, Julie Gardner, the executive producer, because they've got all the behind-the-scenes stories, all these questions that fans end up asking. It's like, why this? Why that? Why is it revealed like this? You could ask these questions and you would get your answers.
Yeah.
Everybody fancies the 10th Doctor. That's where this starts, isn't it? That grand old tradition in Doctor Who of everybody fancies the 10th Doctor. That starts in this episode.
He's still got it. He's still got it.
There were certain things in the episode where I thought, if I was watching this for the first time, maybe I wouldn't be such a fan of the Doctor. Because he gets angry very quickly. Everybody loves him. He has sort of like God complex sort of issue going on.
Doesn't the Face of Bo describe him as like the wandering god?
I think the wandering lonely god or something like that, yeah.
Which is interesting because to me, the Doctor is a god idea is something that I, in my mind, always associated with the Stephen Moffat era. Because Moffat very much uses the idea that the Doctor is like a godlike figure.
Yeah.
But no, it's something that has kind of been around since even Tennant.
Yeah. One thing that stood out to me in this episode with a similarity to Rose was that when we spoke about Rose all that long time ago, I mentioned Plastic Mickey and I said, how come nobody notices? And I sort of feel like you also have to apply that same logic to Rose talking with a posh accent.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like obviously there's a point where David like asks what they did to Rose. So maybe it's a thing of like that whole time, like the Doctor kind of has an inkling, but he can't quite put his finger on it.
Yeah, it's like something's not right here. But
I'd like to talk about Cassandra when taking over the bodies of both Rose and Ten, because for me that is the highlight of this episode.
I mean, he only says it once in his run as Doctor Who, but the line, "Oh baby, I'm beating out a Samba," is an iconic 10th Doctor line.
I mean, I don't know how to work through because there's so much to say. Like, both actors are clearly, like, again, just having so much fun just playing Cassandra.
Yeah. David plays a really camp male super well. Have you seen him in the Catherine Tate Christmas special where he plays, like, the Ghost of Christmas Future? And he comes out, and he comes out to like the Ghostbusters theme tune, and he's like this ultra goth with almost like Russell Brand-esque stylistic choices, and he's like talking about. It's so funny. You should definitely go check that out. Yeah, but no, I agree. Both actors are loving that.
There's one bit where David like goes up to Rose and he's like saying like, I've been in your head, and you like this. And if you look at Billy's face, you can tell in the tape they used, like she's doing her best to not laugh. You can tell like she's like got like her tongue like pressed to her face, like She's trying so hard not to laugh in that take.
No, I remember that bit. I remember looking at it because it's the way Ten goes, "You like him. Oh, you like it." So I'm like, what is going on? The Doctor's hair. We may as well talk about it. We're going to have to talk about it at some point. It's different in this episode, isn't it? It's not...
This episode?
Pam?
Is it different in this episode?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's a bit more flat, more puffy up the sides a little bit. It's not as spiky as we do get in series 3 and 4.
Yeah, I forget that you kind of just associate that one hairstyle with 10th Doctor, but really, he's had a lot of styles, hasn't he? Like, obviously, lots of people talk about how in Day of the Doctor, his hair is completely different. Some reason.
Yeah, I think that's because he was doing a play at the time, though, wasn't he? Was he doing Richard the something?
But they could have just gelled it up, right? They could have just gelled it up.
They could have. I don't know why. Again, we'll get Stephen Moffat on and we'll ask him.
Why did you do David Tennant's hair like that?
Yeah, why did you do it, Moffat? Why did you style his hair?
Moffat was the stylist. Moffat was the stylist. I'm saying it now. Yeah. You know, one thing I can't help but roll my eyes at is that when it comes to like the next, at the end of the Christmas Invasion, they had like the whole next time like series 2 trailer clip show, and one of those clips is the clip from this episode where Rose gives the 10th Doctor a big old snog, and that is such a tease because within the context of this episode, it's Cassandra doing that, and it doesn't actually lead to anything, but. I mean, I can't imagine, like, there must have been people who were peeved off.
Well, in Confidential, Russell said, whenever the companion kisses the Doctor, no matter how many times it's happened, people always say, that never happens in Doctor Who, you've ruined it, even though it's been happening for ages. So he said just to put it in is quite fun, because people go, oh, you've ruined Doctor Who, it's outrageous.
Yeah, but like he was like, no, it wasn't Rose doing it. It was Cassandra, so it's completely okay because it's okay for the 10th Doctor to go around snogging people who he meets one time and never sees again, but for him to kiss a companion, can't do that. We prefer our 10th Doctor to be a player.
That's fair. One thing I like about this episode is with the 10th Doctor is when he realizes he's saved everybody and he's in like the lift shower and he's telling everybody to pass it on, where he's telling everyone to pass the cures on for all these diseases they've got. And there's that real joy in it of this guy just really loves people and he likes saving people, which sort of counteracts why he was so angry earlier on for what seemed like for no reason when you compare that to Chris, who probably wouldn't have been as angry at that. He would have been like, you're a fucking idiot. He wouldn't have said that. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's surprising that kind of this early on, the 10th Doctor gets his everybody lives Rose moment.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah.
That being said,
sorry,
I think there's a lot more examples of the 10th Doctor being able to save everyone.
Yeah.
And I guess kind of the 10th Doctor, just the way David Tennant is, lends itself to that more kind of heroic kind of story.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm all out of notes over here. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about the episode that we haven't touched on yet?
Trying to think.
Are you quite all right there? I think we've touched on everything, really, haven't we?
Yeah, it's. I think so. I don't know how long we've been going, but yeah, short but sweet.
Well, we're not quite finished yet, Harry, because it's time for the quiz.
You, not me. I hate being patient. Patience is for wimps.
Oh boy, the quiz! Oh no! That theme song is still banging though.
Do you like the theme song, Quigs? That thing, what with Matt Smith going, you, I don't need to be patient, or whatever he says.
Yeah, I mean, we've just heard it. We just heard it right now.
All right, very good. I didn't get the
Just
joke.
for the edit, Tim. Just for the edit.
What? Okay, so we've got 3 questions as always. I expect you to get at least one of these right. What year is this episode set in? Seems like such a basic question. He says it when he steps out the TARDIS.
But that's like, do you think I pay attention? Like, look, there's flying cars and apple grass. Am I really going to pay attention to you? It's going to be something million or billion, something billion, won't it? Is it like 20 billion or something?
No, it's 5 billion and 23.
There was a 20 in there.
What ward is the Doctor summoned to by the face of Bo?
Is it 62?
26.
Oh!
The wrong way round.
That's half a point, right? That's
no point there. The Doctor, when he confronts one of the cat people, they tell him to go away and all that. What does the Doctor suggest one of these cat people goes and does?
Is it like go play with a ball of yarn or something?
Yes! He's going to play with a ball of string!
Is that not as when Cassandra is controlling him?
Oh, well, you got it. Do you not want the point?
Yeah. No, I do want the point. No.
You got one at last.
Yes.
1 point.
I watched the show.
Well done, Harry. Also, I'm going to start building up my list for our part. We'll do a ranking again where we do the first half of the series, and then when the series is over, we'll come back and we'll do the full series. So,
are we going to include the Christmas invasion in that?
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll do.
Going to include, because we got to figure out where Christmas episodes, or maybe down the line you'll do, like in addition to this, we'll do like a Christmas special ranking as well.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be good. So, do you want to recommend some stuff? We haven't done recommendations in a while.
Before I go, I just want to tell you were fantastic.
Yes. No, we haven't. The last time we did it was for the Parting of the Ways, but it was the version that we didn't actually record.
Did we not redo it afterwards?
Yeah, so I'm going to reuse my recommendation from that.
Go on.
My recommendation from that is the HBO series Succession. It won the Emmy for Best Drama. It's really bloody good. It deserved to win the Emmy.
Written by Simon Byrne or Jesse Armstrong? Which one is it?
It's written by Jesse Armstrong, who is best known in this country for being one of the writers on Peep Show.
Yeah.
It's great. It's I don't know how to describe it. I'm not very good at selling shows. And this show especially, like when you just say what it's about, it doesn't sound like the most thrilling thing. It's kind of a satire of kind of like the Murdoch dynasty, kind of Rupert Murdoch and all that. And it's about the head of this kind of massive media conglomerate in the States, played by Brian Cox. And it's about him deciding which of his 3 children could hand the company over, who should be his successor, hence the name Succession.
Oh.
But it's got some great principal actors. It's really well written. It's funny. It's surprisingly funny. It's a really good show.
Where can people watch that if they want to catch that?
I don't know. I watched it on Sky. So I think it's on Sky Atlantic. I'm not sure. It's probably on like Amazon Prime or something. I imagine
if it's on Sky, it'll probably be on Now TV here in the UK.
That could be it. Yeah. I imagine that because it's got the Emmy now, I hope that it's going to become more widely available. I'm not saying it's like going to be the next big thing. I'm not going to say it's like going to be the next Game of Thrones. But Emmy winner, HBO, might as well be. It deserves to be.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend something completely different. It's a TV show, Auntie Donna's Big Old House of Fun on Netflix. Auntie Donna are a comedy trio of improvised stand-up comedy writers over in Australia. Their YouTube stuff is hilarious. It's so funny. They do such great sketches with a really great budget as well. and they've been lucky enough to be found by Netflix and picked up for their own sketch comedy show. Each episode follows a loose narrative with the story, with the narrative, being held together by representative sketches. It's just really funny and silly, and you don't go into it thinking this is going to be a sitcom and I'm going to watch this and judge the characters, because there are no characters. There's no series arc. It's just a big old house of fun. It's really good.
There aren't even like recurring sketch characters.
There are, yes, but they're more like it's more like a satire on the fact that they're returning.
Okay, that's interesting. So the closest thing it sounds like in my mind is something like the first series of League of Gentlemen, but I'm guessing it's not even like that consistent in its world building.
Yeah, it's not that weird. It's weird in the sense that it's stupid, in the sense that I always think League of Gentlemen's weird in the sense that it's quirky and a bit scary almost, in the sense of the way that a lot of the sketches are. This is very bright and very silly and fun, and it has the sort of style of a kids program, but the jokes are made for adults.
The way you describe it gives me almost like Alice in Wonderland vibes.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit, yeah. Definitely check that out. Cool.
That sounds unlike anything I've seen ever before. That sounds like something I'd be genuinely interested in checking out.
There's 6 episodes for this first series. There's only the one series, so it's one of those things I'm not binging it, I'm diluting it a lot, so don't ruin it for myself.
Are there any chances of them getting another season?
I think so. It's been pretty well received. Netflix tend to do 3 seasons, don't they, of a show before they cancel?
Yeah, I've heard that. Apparently, Netflix don't like to do more than 3 seasons because most viewers tend to stop watching shows after the 3rd season.
Yeah, they don't tend to pick up any new viewers either.
Yeah, that's something that's surprising to me, because like, what if a show is like really good,
Yeah, cool. So with
I guess it should be like exceptional, like Stranger Things or something, for them to decide to do more than 3.
Exactly. So with that, we'll bring this episode of Bigger on the Inside to a close. Thanks for listening, guys. You can follow us on Twitter and all that. Everything's in the description. Do everything. If you've heard something in this episode that you'd like, let us know on Twitter. Just send us a tweet, or if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and all that. Do you want to say? I'll say goodbye. Do you want to say bye, Harry?
Yep. Bye-bye.
Humans are better in one respect. You are better at subscribing. Seek, locate, subscribe.